Hello and welcome. You are listening to an episode of the Sales Chat Show. To stream or download a host of further free episodes that will power your sales success, please visit saleschatshow.com. We really hope that you enjoy and benefit from this episode. So, hello folks, and welcome to the Sales Chat Show, saleschatshow.com, driving your sales forwards. Now, due to various business challenges, the Sales Chat Show hasn't been around for a few weeks. That's largely because one of our founding members, Mr. Graham Jones, the professor, has been inundated with a level of work in the world of academia, and Graham is having to take a little bit of a sabbatical from the Sales Chat Show due to, other very important priorities that he's got, which left us with a bit of an empty chair for the Sales Chat Show. So Anthony and I had a little think. Who do we know who could step in and sit in that chair? And we had a conversation, and there was one name came out top of the list, and I am delighted to say that, as well as myself, Simon Hazeldine, and my esteemed colleague, Mr. Anthony Steers, we are delighted, folks, to welcome you to our new Sales Chat Show posse member, Mr. Steve Lindsay, who is the event director of the National Sales Conference. The National Sales Conference is, without a doubt, the UK's premier event for revenue leaders and sales teams. Steve's been leading it for the last 14 years. So, as well as spending far too much time interacting with salespeople and sales leaders, and probably is good for him, bless him, he also is a business owner himself, so he understands revenue generation at the sharp end. And part of Steve's empire also produces the State of Sales research report, which we are going to have a little chat about, because there's a couple of really interesting things that caught our eye. So Steve, welcome to the Sales Chat Show.
Simon, thank you for having us. Anthony, good to see you again. Big shoes to fill. Obviously, Graham's done a fantastic job, and I can't bring any clear academia or a doctorate with me, but I'll do my best to fill Graham's shoes.
Well, to be quite honest with you, Steve, Anthony and I, if I'm quite honest with you, we're now very, very relieved because not everything we say will then be instantly challenged and told is nonsense, according to some research report that Graham trots out. However, Mr. Jones, because I know he'll be listening into this episode, Steve's got his own research. Ha! So we've actually very, very, very interestingly, there is the State of Sales report, and this is a great piece of research. It's a cross-sector report, so it covers a whole ton of different industries. Talked to a lot of sales leaders, have contributed to it, and we're talking businesses from about 1 million all the way up to over 1 billion. 12% of the respondents are in the 1 billion plus revenue. So we're talking a really, really interesting. It's split into a whole ton of different areas, but the title of this episode was Save Time and Win More Deals with This Shortcut. It's actually an AI shortcut, because one of the things the State of Sales research report asked was, what's the sort of the biggest positive impact you're getting from your sales teams for using AI tools? And sitting top of the list was customer intelligence. So, getting insight into preferences, insight into interests. And that really kind of caught our attention, Anthony and I, because we've both been working with clients who are doing this. So now, our good friend Julie Holmes, and Julie's a real expert on AI, and she's written a fantastic book on using AI for salespeople, and she has a fantastic prompt structure that she uses, helps salespeople to use, and you can do some very, 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 very targeted research in a very, very short period of time, right? You can do assessment, you can analyze, you can find, drivers, what's most important to the customer. So definitely take a look at Julie's book if you need some help with that prompting. But yeah, Anthony, your thoughts before we came on air, you just said you've been involved with clients who are really leveraging this.
Absolutely, yeah. So, well, the client that I was actually thinking of is dabbling with AI, dealing with their inbound inquiries, which might sound a little bit counterproductive because obviously when you get an inbound inquiry, they're quite hot. They want to usually speak to a human being, but they get quite a lot of leads coming through. And what they've started to do, so this is a venue, so it's a big stadium based here in the UK. And obviously they've got sporting events going on, plus corporate events wanting to happen in between as well. And one of the things that they're sort of testing out really is as the inquiries come through, depending on how much information people give, they get a score. And they have to get a certain level of score before they're going to get connected with a human being. So for those people who are literally just saying, I'd like a price for an event next year, it will go back and say, well, how many people is it? What month are you looking at? And try and get a bit more information to kind of qualify these leads before they get handed over to a human being to then deal with them. And for those, they're saying it's saving them so much time.
Yeah.
It's still in the relatively early stages of doing this. So I think we've got another couple of weeks where they're going to be testing this out. But they're definitely saying that the lead quality is going up because of it, and that therefore is pushing the lead conversion up as well. So definitely an area where if you are swamped with inbound leads, AI can help you sift through that and prioritize the strongest or hottest leads, and make sure you have as much information as possible. Because as you know, I always say information is ammunition. And quite often in sales, we get a bit excited and just rush in and forget all of that useful information that's in our head.
Yeah, it's like I've said in the past, pre the internet for people who are ancient like me who can remember such a thing existing, saying to a customer, "Tell me about your business," was quite a good question early on. Now it's the worst question because you should know. Interestingly, on the subject of leads, was working with a client in the energy sector, helping them to generate opportunities and leads, and we used nothing more than their in-house Copilot that they all had on their laptop. So Microsoft Copilot and some well-engineered prompts to help them to target specific, and they were targeting big specific customers. And literally using really good prompting, it was generating in a matter of seconds amazing information, saving them a ton of time and really improving their ability to connect with like an early value story example of how they might help in order to maximize the chance of getting the appointment from their reach out campaign.
To give that a bit of context, you said a lot of prompting. Obviously,
Yeah.
the more detailed your prompt is, the more accurate your list is going to be. Were they putting pages and pages in there? Were their profile on
No, I
industries, behaviors, people? What sort of stuff were they
Yeah, so
tending
I'd
to lean
I'd
into?
sort of pre-prepared some of the prompts in advance for them, and then they did a bit of tailoring, and they were copy and pasting them. They were copy and pasting them across, but very specific about you telling it exactly what you're looking for, what you want it to do, so on and so forth. Yeah, have a look for Julie Holmes prepared prompt structure, folks, online. Julie's very prevalent. If you can't find it, just reach out to us and we'll point you in the right direction. And that seemed to be the seed. Tell it specifically what it is you want it to do, give it some structure, tell it what not to do, and away you go. And then have a conversation with it and refine it if it's not giving you
Yeah.
giving you.
And I think the beauty with that is you can profile, like you say, the sorts of people,
Yeah.
companies, the projects that you're after, but you can also ask it to organize the type of data that it's going to give you as well. So you get a nice summary and report beforehand. So you've got an overview, like you were saying. Great question when you used to go and see people, tell me a bit about your business. Whereas now it's slightly offensive. It's like you've turned up and you haven't bothered to look at our website. Right. So it's a bit of a tricky one. And I suppose with most businesses out there, you have quite a diverse selection of clients. Obviously, National Sales Conference, Steve, you've got all kinds of businesses that attend. Is
absolutely.
that correct?
Yeah, but we've got a real mixed bag, and obviously just following on from what we focused on this conversation, time is a big factor there. Now, of course,
Yeah,
we're thinking about it from a prospecting, from a lead generation, from a sales team perspective, but actually the time factor from the buyer as well. Of course, yes, we expect people to understand a little bit about our business, but what, albeit as a micro business owner myself, one thing that frustrates me when I get information coming through, if I know that they've already have done that little bit of research, I know I'm not going to be wasting my time. If it's something I'm interested in, if I know they have actually done this little bit of insight, I know I'm not going to be wasting my time going through a lot of qualifying questions, because actually they've already got a strong understanding as to who
Yeah.
I am and what I do. I think that
Nice.
the great thing with AI is that, yes, to your point, everyone expects you to know something about your business and your offering. They, on the flip side, and this is the only thing, they don't want it to just be AI generated as
yeah,
well. So it's
yeah,
just a case of just creating that little bit of information of interest. You still absolutely have to have that personal touch without
Yeah.
question. So from the
Yeah.
time perspective, from the prospector,
Yeah.
the sales team, just having them enough information there that they can still personalize that call. Because I
yeah.
truly believe that that's the key to
Yeah, and I think sometimes when you're using that information, I've found it with a few clients now where we are weaving in information that we've gathered through AI into the conversation, and you kind of got to do it delicately because obviously they do expect you to have done some research, but it's sort of framed in a way of, well, look, while we were doing a bit of research, we noticed this. Can we just ask a couple of questions about it?
Yeah.
And it felt more conversational rather than a here's the report of everything we found about you. It just gave us something to dig in on, and we actually knew some of the answers already, but we led the client towards telling us rather than just sharing all the information that we got. So it allowed us to kind of steer the conversation in a couple of directions, kind of knowing where it was going to go. And it gets the client talking as well.
it's
I think Steve's comments around the personalization is very, very important. AI is not the answer to life, the universe, and everything. It can do some of the heavy lifting for you, but you've still got to have that. I'm using it to support me with a piece of outreach. It's doing some research for me of clients on hopefully new clients in the pharmaceutical sector. I've not taken the output verbatim. I have used it as a guide and I've added, my own things to it. But also, Anthony, the other thing I think that came out from Steve, it was you were saying this far more politely than I'm about to say this, and I'm not saying this is what Steve said, by the way, because he's too polite to say this. But I tell you what, customers are saying: don't waste my time, don't waste my time, right? That is
Hmm.
that is literally. I presented at a big event in Coventry last year, and there were three procurement people. They were doing a round table on stage with some procurement people talking about what they wanted from suppliers. And I'd done a
Hmm.
little bit of I poked a bit of fun at the boring standard sales, talking at you slides, the PowerPoint slides. And one of the procurement people came up afterwards and he said, "Could you send me a copy of those slides?" He said, "because I want to show them to some of my suppliers and say, don't turn up with these slides." And he literally said to me, he said, "If suppliers would only stop wasting my time and focus on what is most important to me, my life would improve dramatically." That's a professional procurement. Stop wasting my time, be relevant, and AI helps you to do some of that, but also put a bit of the human, best of artificial intelligence, best of human intelligence. And is Steve, it's come out very strongly in the report. And I know when you're selecting both, for example, you're selecting speakers and people, and you're pulling the architecture of the National Sales Conference and the other events together, round table topics, that sort of stuff. This obviously is an area where there's a lot of demand at the moment, is there, from revenue leaders?
without question, that demand's coming from the unknown for one. It's
Yeah,
also
Hmm.
coming from the not so much the FOMO, but it's definitely that potential for lost opportunity there.
yeah,
I think that's the key thing there. But we're all told as professional people, or even as persons, individuals, that you shouldn't be looking at what anyone else is doing. You should be focusing on what you're doing. But it's very difficult to do that when you know that everyone else is using AI. So yeah, there is a hell of a lot of demand there. Speaking as a Gen X, I'm quite old school in terms of how I've developed myself professionally, or how I've communicated, how I've dealt with things. Do I use AI tools? Absolutely. Am I as good as I can be? Definitely not. There's still a long way to go there. But I think the great thing is that there's more and more curiosity now. And if we compare the findings from this year's report to last year's report, there was a huge jump. In fact, there was almost double the number of people in the survey that said they're actually using AI tools now. So going back to 2025, there was 34% that said they were using AI tools. This year, there's 63%. So
I saw that. That's amazing, right? Double pretty much.
Big jump at all. There's and obviously that's where these big shifts come as well, because the other shift, which fits in quite nice, is the fact that people were considering back in 2025, over 50% were considering using AI tools but haven't actually made the jump.
Yeah,
that's been proven. Although people were talking about it, they did actually put things into place.
I think as our understanding and use and experience of AI has developed, the whole thought of using it for AI at the beginning is, oh my God, we need to figure out how do we get it to do everything? How do we turn that into getting us sales and making us money? And actually, it doesn't quite work like that. It's about using it for the little parts of the process that, as we kind of mentioned, are going to save you time, are going to get you better data, more accurate information that you can then use. What I quite like, Steve, is just Simon, you mentioned before we came on, been talking about profiling. You've kind of been taking this to the next level, because not only has it been identifying and doing your research, it then crafts that into what did you call that email?
It's like our reach out email, a sniper email, I described it as. So because I'm aiming for some quite senior stakeholders, and I know, okay, they might not necessarily see every single email, but I can't start sending some spammy email to these people once a week, right? You've got one shot, right? And I'm not expecting an instant response. So it's worth me spending, and as Steve mentioned, the personalizing aspect, right? Because I'm happy to spend the time to make these emails particularly effective. And by the way, it's the first part of the reach out campaign, and there'll be other things as well. But yeah, it's a sniper approach, not like a shotgun, not a shotgun approach. The AI's helped, but then I've put some of my own stuff in there as well. So I think it just is if you put the work in, it will produce you some good value, and it will save you some time, and it will help you to be relevant to people, like business owners like Steve, when you're kind of reaching out to them. And it means that, because Steve is going to, like all business owners, and Anthony and I get approached by people trying to sell us things all the time, which is kind of always very ironic when you're in sales yourself, sort of thing. You have to filter out, you have to kind of triage who gets through and who doesn't get through. And its relevance typically is this relevant to me? Does this look like somebody it might be useful for me to invest some more of my time in, or not? So I think that's why this sort of research is so important when people are short of time. And and like the procurement guy said, stop wasting my time and focus in on things that are most important to me. So make sure that's part of your business outreach, I think is critical.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing, obviously, we keep referring back to is the time saving element. So from a productivity perspective, obviously we should get better and better, faster and faster. Our conversion, hopefully, with the quality of data, should go up. But one of the sort of key time-saving things that I've seen with quite a few of my clients is and it has a knock-on effect benefit as well, which interestingly is at the top of the report, is about updating your CRM system after the activity or conversations you're having with your clients, because now you can get summaries, you can do full transcripts. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can put so much great data, you can capture it and get it into your CRM system. And I think that's where if I'm honest, that's where salespeople used to let themselves down the most, was in their CRM system, because we're always on to the next conversation. We don't write down everything we've talked about. And as we said at the beginning, information is ammunition. So the more you get to capture, the more you can weave back into your next conversation. You can even get AI to give you a summary of your last 3 conversations with them. It's really clever. But the knock-on effect, and that was what I thought was quite interesting in the report, is that actually the big knock-on effect is then forecasting, because you tend to use your CRM to do forecasting, which, let's be honest with you, 10, 20 years ago was very much a finger in the air and you'd have a bit of a guess at it. Whereas now, with much better data in there, with much more defined customer journeys and funnels, it's much easier to forecast more accurately, because with good data in your CRM system, it means you've got good data to make your predictions with.
Yeah, I think you're being very kind, by the way. The last survey data I saw was forecast accuracy is running at about 48.5%. And if I'm not mistaken, your odds of winning at roulette are slightly better than that. So I don't think that tells us, that says the forecasting. I know, I'm sure it's getting better.
It's improving. It's never going to get, nobody's got a crystal ball, unfortunately, but it's definitely getting better and more accurate. And I think that, again, the great thing that I always think in good CRM systems is when you start to look at the analytics and you start to see the trends that are going on in your pipeline. And you can only do that by populating it with good data.
I think you're spot on. You're spot on. Then the CRM starts to become a sales asset resource to and the salespeople start to regard it as a help, not an
it's not just an activity log. It's got lots of useful information in there. So I think, like you say, we're all time poor. We've all got more going on, and like you said, with the procurement person, no one wants their time wasted. So
starting your next call with a brief summary of what you spoke about last time, and maybe saying, "Oh, Steve, I was just thinking about what you said to me last time." You're off then into a good start of a conversation, right? Which I think is super useful. So, Steve, if people want to get their hands on the current report, it's growthhub.me, so growthhub.me, and then there's a resources section on there.
That's right, and it's apologies, sorry, it's the Growth Hub.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's the growthhub.mm, TheGrowthHub.me. My apologies.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
And we've got the resources section on there. It's free. It's free to download. We do ask for a little bit of information, of course. We're like to be able to reach out to people to encourage them to do the survey, because this is an annual report. So people who download the report, of course, we encourage you to share your experiences as well. So obviously in the coming months, we'll be launching a survey for the upcoming 2027 report as well. But it's free to download.
And then sorry, Anthony, go on.
I was just going to say, and I think a great exercise for most businesses is to share this report around internally and have a chat about it. See what you notice, see what trends are relevant, see which bits are most kind of useful to you, because there's some really interesting data in there. And I think as you spread that around different departments within the business, people are going to notice different things. And actually, Steve, one of the things that I loved about NSC were the round table type situations where we get to dig into this report and you kind of hear other people's perspectives and from different industries and job titles. And it's really fascinating how much of it is actually relevant to everybody, but you kind of hone in on the bits that are most important to you. But as you start to hear other people dissecting this stuff, it's valuable information for sure.
I mean, I'd definitely say having internal roundtables, problem solving, what does this mean to us, is fantastic. But my old CEO, Carlos Brito, was a big fan of outside in thinking. And that's, getting around a table with a group of diverse leaders, revenue leaders from other industries, and getting some ideas and thoughts and things can be gold dust, right? Because stops you getting stuck in your own way of thinking. So, and then the report, which is the research is going to be being gathered over the next few months, that's going to be released, Steve, on 21st of January next year. That coincides with the National Sales Conference at the National Motorcycle Museum in Birmingham. That, folks, was a plug, by the way. So make sure you as well get yourself along to NSC. So I'm sure there'll
If
be
you
some
are anything to do with revenue, sales leadership, or in a sales team, it is the best event in the UK. This is a proper blatant plug now. It's the event that I keep clear every year. I've even turned down work on the date before, purely so I can attend the National Sales Conference. So, and as sales leaders, it's often good to kind of get out of the business so you can work on the business as well. And like you say, different perspectives tend to open our eyes a little bit more about what we can do next.
Fantastic. So, folks, any last closing thoughts? For me, it was definitely use AI, save yourself some time, sharpen your sniper approach, get your customer research, and then don't waste your customers' time, right? Be relevant. AI can kind of help you to do that. Steve, closing thoughts from you?
I love what Anthony was saying about the CRM system, a very sweeping, generalizing statement. I don't know many salespeople who look forward to updating the CRM system.
Yeah.
So if you can get some tools in place to help speed that up, it then allows the sales team, the sales professionals to do what they're very good at, and that is actually open those conversations, building those relationships, whether it's through telephone prospecting or face to face. So I think from a time saving perspective, it's a no brainer, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go on, Anthony.
And I was going to say, and from me, I actually, I feel like I need to start working on my prompts for my prospecting. After you talked about the layers and the complexity of that, I feel like I might try a couple of new little wish list campaigns on a few people and see how it works out. So for me, yeah, it's getting those prompts in. I might have to get a call booked in with Julie Holmes at some point. But yeah, that's definitely my big takeaway. And I can't believe how many times we talked about time today. And that's really what it all links back to. So,
yeah, and also just to add to the excellent survey research that we've been talking about from Steve's organisation, the research from Ebster, by the way, just triggered me, Steve. I just grabbed this very quickly. You mentioned CRMs. They looked at what's the difference between the elite sales performers, the 31% that are more likely to hit quota versus the not so goods, the average. They are 483% more likely to update opportunities in the CRM on a weekly basis. And here's the kicker. Opportunities updated weekly, 17% more likely to be won. So if you want a 17% increase in your win rate, that would say update your opportunities every week. But I'm a simple soul. Could it be that simple? Maybe it is. So get in that CRM and start to use it properly. For goodness sake.
As Roy Keane would say, do your job.
Do your job and don't waste my time. We're telling it how it is on the Sales Chat Show. So, folks, there are 300 plus episodes in the Sales Chat Show back catalogue. If you would like to subscribe to the Sales Chat Show, you'll be notified when we release new episodes, and we're back in the saddle. Those new episodes are going to be coming at you thick and fast. So it has been Simon Hazeldine, Anthony Steers and Steve Lindsay on behalf of the Sales Chat Show. Until next time, we would like to wish you good luck and good selling, folks. You have been listening to an episode of the Sales Chat Show. To stream or download a host of further free episodes that will power your sales success, please visit saleschatshow.com. Thank you very much for listening to this episode, and from everyone here at the Sales Chat Show, we'd like to wish you good luck and good selling.